A quiet message arrives from Stockholm, unmarked, unannounced, but heavy with implication. Inside, one word that Canada thought it would never see again. The world is changing. The Arctic is heating up, politically, not just thermally. Russia expands patrols near the polar routes. China eyes the North Atlantic trade corridor. And the United States? They want every ally flying the same jet, the F-35. But Canada is beginning to ask a dangerous question. What if alliance dependence has a price? From Stockholm comes a counteroffer: 88 Gripen E fighters, built not in Sweden, but in Canada. It's not just about aircraft. It's about sovereignty, control of data, freedom of operation in northern skies where no satellite link survives long. For years, the decision seemed settled. F-35s were the future. But 2025 brought new realities: rising costs, spare part shortages, and whispers that Washington could override key systems during sensitive missions. Now, Ottawa faces a strategic crossroad: follow the alliance or chart its own course through an increasingly multipolar sky. Because this time, the Gripen isn't just a Swedish jet. It's a geopolitical statement. Gripen back in Canada, the fighter jet rebellion. A quiet knock on the door of Ottawa's defense ministry. From Stockholm, carrying one word that Canada thought it had buried years ago: Gripen. In early 2025, Saab re-entered the conversation. A bold proposal: 88 Gripen E fighters, fully assembled in Canada. Jobs for thousands, technology transfer, total independence. No hidden codes, no foreign locks. Every wire, every update, every decision, Canadian hands only. But this was more than a fighter offer. It was a geopolitical challenge. A direct question to Ottawa: would Canada stay a customer or become a builder again? Behind closed doors, military analysts began to ask, was the F-35 really the right choice for Canada's north? Because up there, stealth doesn't matter. Reliability does. And in the cold, where a human can die in minutes, one aircraft had already proven it could endure: the Swedish-built Gripen. By mid-2025, reports leaked. Canada was reviewing its F-35 contract. Officials cited cost overruns, part shortages, and a clause that allowed the United States to remotely restrict key systems during foreign operations. It wasn't just a technical issue. It was a question of sovereignty. That's when the real shock came. Sources confirmed secret meetings between Saab executives and Canadian defense advisors. Whispers spread across Ottawa's defense circles. Gripen is back on the table. And this time, it came with a twist. Saab offered to build not just for Canada, but for Ukraine. Two northern democracies, two nations shaped by snow, silence, and self-reliance. Gripen wasn't just a jet. It was a statement, a philosophy of independence in a world of dependencies. Small, efficient, capable of taking off from highways, repaired in minutes, operated by a handful of crew. A fighter for nations that can't afford to lose time or control. The idea of co-producing Gripen in Canada began to ignite conversations in military and political circles. What if Canada could build fighters for the world? What if the North become a new hub of next-generation aviation? But powerful forces were watching, and they weren't pleased. Washington's message was subtle but clear. The alliance trusts U.S. hardware. Breaking ranks could mean political friction, economic pressure, even diplomatic consequences. Inside Ottawa, the air grew colder than the Arctic wind outside. Officials torn between alliance loyalty and national independence. One senior defense analyst summed it up simply: the Gripen gives us control. The F-35 gives us company. But in a world shifting toward multipolar power, Canada's skies could no longer depend solely on someone else's wings. Then, something happened that shocked even the skeptics. In August 2025, under the radar, literally, Canadian test pilots were invited to Sweden. There, over the frozen Baltic, they flew the Gripen E. They pushed it to its limits. Short-run takeoffs, supersonic climbs, electronic warfare simulations. When they landed, one pilot's report leaked. "This aircraft feels Canadian." That single line ignited a storm. Social media erupted. Hashtag Gripen for Canada trended overnight. Suddenly, the jet that once lost the contract was back in the fight. Negotiations deepened. Saab proposed an unprecedented deal. A full Canadian production line, not just for domestic use, but for allies in Europe and Ukraine. Analysts began calling it a Northern Alliance of Airpower. The Gripen could become more than a fighter. It could mark Canada's return to aerospace independence. But nothing was guaranteed. The F-35 contract still stood. The politics remained tangled. And every decision from this point would define Canadian air power for decades. The future of Canada's skies now lies between two paths, one forged in alliance, the other in autonomy. The Gripen represents control, adaptability, and the promise of sovereignty. The F-35 represents prestige, stealth, and the comfort of the familiar system. Two aircraft, two ideologies, one sky. And the question remains, when the next storm hits the Arctic, whose wings will Canada trust?